Well, hi guys, let me share my screen. Hang on. So my name's Phoebe. Once it loads. And I recently acquired Transcribo app. My background is more within e-commerce and marketing. I first started my first e-commerce website when I was 16, selling bracelets, and then I've just since kind of been on the marketing path, and now currently my 9 to 5 is as an e-commerce brand manager for a military company. We sell to the military cadets a lot of storage boxes, but we run 4 websites, and I'm basically behind all that. So I went to London College of Fashion and did a business management degree, not a fashion degree, but it's in retail. So I kind of learned how trends happen, how to build brands, and how to market online as well. And so, like I said, I acquired Transcribo in March. I think it was the beginning of March. I was basically just looking for a product that I could get more into. I'd heard about SaaS products before, and I was really interested in how they worked, how automatically you could give a service to a consumer. From my e-commerce background, it was quite interesting to me because there was no product as such to gift the consumer. So I was training online for a while and found Transcribo. It was done by a developer in Chile, and he basically just needed somebody else to take it on and take it to the next step of marketing it and developing it further, which I thought was a perfect fit. So when I was at uni, I actually discovered that I was dyslexic, and had a lot of trouble doing notes and listening to lectures, and also we had areas where we had to do focus groups and transcribe that way, and I just found it quite hard. So when I found Transcribo, I realised that this solved a lot of problem for people, and it was very quick for people to fix that problem. So obviously actually manually transcribing takes time and resources for businesses, and today with this online world as we have it with COVID, there's a lot of Zoom meetings and podcasters and YouTube content out there, and a lot of online lectures as well. So I wanted to be able to help people find a better way to get this content together faster. And also with a marketing background, I'm very heavily within SEO and know how important it is to create audio into text for Google to rank your websites higher. And yeah, basically that's why Transcriber was so interesting to me, and that's why I feel it's quite important to help it grow. So this is a demo of Transcribo. I'm hoping it will work. Sorry, you can hear it, can't you? You hear it?
It's very, very, very quiet,
Okay,
Phoebe.
I'll put it up.
And I will see my dashboard. I don't have any files yet, so I'm going to add a new file. We can add different types of files like MP3, MP4, WAV, and so on. We can preview the file name and size. Then we need to choose the number of speakers. In this case, there are 2. We will choose the language. There are over 15 languages. In this case, it's US English. Now I'm going to click Upload. Once it's done, processing the file to get the text transcript. This is done using our machine learning API. In this case, it's a 15 minutes audio, so the process should take around 3 to 4 minutes. Once it's completed, we'll get an email notification, so we can go do something else in the meantime. We could even close the website and come back later. When it's done, we can click here and see the transcript. We have an online editor to make adjustments if we need to, and edit speaker names. This editor will sync every word with the corresponding timestamp. Once we're happy with the final result, we can download it in different formats like Word document, plain text file, or PDF. We can also choose whether or not we want to display the timestamps in the speaker names. That's pretty much it. It's a simple, convenient alternative to manual transcription, and more affordable than hiring someone else to do it. I hope this is helpful for you. Thanks for watching.
I hope that was helpful and you kind of got the gist of how it works. So the type of audiences that I'm focusing on with Transcribo is going to be students and universities, especially when they need to have focus groups and lectures and should transcribe their notes. And also, interestingly, I've had people reach out through Transcribo to help with language help. So people who study different languages to be able to help transcribe their notes of what they're speaking, which is really interesting, as well as corporate businesses, so Zoom meetings, as well as focus groups again, and interviews, so such as journalists and people who need content that way, and then podcasters, so the content and turning it into SEO to help boost their marketing and their websites. And an area that I'm going to be looking into is also global medical care with doctors and language barriers, as well as YouTubers and video content, because currently it doesn't do subtitles, but that is something that I want to look into, to developing it to help YouTubers be able to add subtitles to their content. So the current features, it's got 15 languages, so variety of different English speaking, as well as Spanish, French, German, Italian, Portuguese, Turkish, Dutch, Japanese, and Russian. I'm hoping to add more to that, but I feel like it's a good basis to have started with. So currently how it works is you sign up and you get 33 minutes. And then if you use all those minutes, you then purchase an hour or hours, and you have them as credits. So it's £5 to start with, and then the more hours you buy, the discount on the hour you get. And you can basically edit the transcribed text once you have uploaded it and it's transcribed it for you. It's not quite perfect, so there are some additional words it doesn't quite get, like names and things like that, but it's because it currently uses Amazon's API. I'm looking into different APIs as well, which will hopefully make the transcribing of it easier and more efficient for the customer. So the future development, so like as I mentioned, I want subtitles for video content, especially YouTubers, to create affiliate marketing. My background is within a lot of affiliate marketing, so I know how important it is, especially with students. I think it'll be a great way to push it within that market. Also plugins, so with online meeting apps and such as Zoom, and also Clubhouse, adding a feature to help benefit Clubhouse members, and as well as partnering with universities to help in that way. I think that would be quite a cool avenue, especially within helping students. So also want to look into transcribing and translating, so both at the same time through live video, as I mentioned, looking into doctors and helping doctors be able to speak to somebody within a foreign language and the audio transcribe at the same time. I think that would be a really interesting and different avenue for Transcribo compared to its competitors. As well as I need to develop its emails. Currently, I have a lot of drop-offs that I've noticed. So I think we've got, I think about 350 users now. And a lot of them will use the 30 minutes, but are not reminded to then purchase an extra hour or use it again for more hours. And I get a lot of notifications of people still trying to upload when they've not got enough minutes. So I'm going to develop it so emails are sent out that remind customers that they need to purchase more hours, as well as creating more lead generation systems. So I'm looking to LinkedIn Helper and helping a lot of people and contacting a lot of people through LinkedIn, because I think within being a business platform be really helpful. And improving the landing page. It's not quite mobile friendly, and you don't quite get the gist of the pricing structure and all that Transcribo does. So I think the homepage and landing page would be really important, as well as adding lots of blogs to kind of use SEO to grow the platform. It's already got quite a good organic growth for only being 3 months old, but there's so much more to do within SEO, and that's kind of what excites me within the product, because that's what I like doing. And as well as the fact it's subscription based. So currently with the credits, it doesn't really remind people to buy the credits. So I'm thinking maybe a subscription base might be helpful, but I would like other people to kind of give me pros and cons on that to see if that would maybe be a better way to go. And also data protection. Currently, when you do transcribe, you can't see the transcription, but you can currently see the audio. And I'm currently looking into trying to fix that because once I start scaling it, that needs to be a problem that we have fixed. So this is how I want the customers currently with the credit section to go through the funnel to be getting emails once they have signed up to use their minutes, and then if they don't get it, to just receive our newsletter emails, and then if they do use the minutes, then we send an email to be reminded to buy more hours, and then another email again to be reminded, and then just to be on our news letter subscriptions. So my current challenge is, like I said, I'm a little bit technical. I know CSS and HTML, but I did generally buy it to learn more within programming and kind of expand my knowledge that way. It is just me currently, and also I do currently have a 9 to 5, but it's kind of finding the best direction of how to get more people testing the product and getting in front of the right customers. I think that would be quite key, especially people who want to continue to use the product and not just be like a one-off of using the 30 minutes. But I hope I didn't go too fast and I hope I explained it well. Has anyone got any questions?
I'm sure people will. Thank you very much, Phoebe.
One or two. So, Phoebe, I know this space quite well because we do a lot of what you're looking for.
Yeah.
How are you supporting the platform? So you obviously bought it and then someone's built it in Chile. You bought it. Are they providing that ongoing support? Because I know things change more often than perhaps they should in this world.
Yeah, and he's very helpful actually. He has quite a love for creating it, so it's very helpful if I've had problems. He has helped me, which is really nice. But I am aware that I need to have better help maybe in developing it further. But yeah, so he is very helpful.
You mentioned sort of going after sort of talking to students. So we sell to a lot of universities. So Oxford, Cambridge, St Andrews, Bath, they all.
Okay, yeah.
There's a lot of universities, but it's a very small world. They all know each other. And what we found is that when you have one that likes you and they like the software, they're quite happy to recommend it elsewhere. So that's worth knowing.
Oh, okay.
But as we're sort of selling to any corporates, there's the software itself, but there is then all the sort of information security checks that they'll want to do. So they will want it hosted in the EU, it needs to be GDPR compliant. There's a load of really boring but important stuff around there that's worth looking at.
Okay.
And then on the sort of accessibility side, so if you're, I don't know whether you went through this, but if you're a student at a UK university, you can get support through the Disabled Students Allowance.
Yes.
Which will fund software.
Yes.
Now, they have some very strict rules and they have a very weird way of interpreting them, which changes about every 2 weeks.
Okay.
But one of the things that they do offer is note-taking.
Okay.
To be honest, it's a bit of a wrapped up market, but it might be worth looking at it potentially.
Okay, thank you. That's very helpful.
No worries.
So I was interested in your user journey. What are you using? What software tools are you using for that? Somebody sign up.
I think it's, hang on, I can tell you it's on my phone. I have an app as well. I use it for other things as well. It's called Miro, M-I-R-O.
No. Sorry. What I was asking is in terms of creating the emails and automatically.
Oh, sorry. Well, it currently uses SendGrid, but I've used quite a few mail systems in the past, like MailerLite, Carvana, and MailChimp. But I'm probably going to try and still use SendGrid and try and work out how to do their automations that way.
Are you paying for that, or is? So I need to check because we got credits. I don't know whether it's for new users. But let me come back to you on that.
Okay, thank you.
It might be worth looking at Intercom. Is the other one. Intercom have now the problem with Intercom is that they're hosted in the west coast of the US, but they have a startup program.
Okay.
And send specific emails with specific triggers within the app.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
A lot of people use ActiveCampaign as well. I don't know what the pricing is.
Oh yeah, I've heard of them before.
We use that. It's quite good, but I don't know the others, so I don't know what I'm comparing it against.
Chris, what do you use? Using MailerLite or?
It depends. We currently use Intercom.
Okay.
Because we've got like a startup thing where they charge us like $15 a month.
Okay.
But it's going to go at the end of this year up to £1,000 a month. So I'm less inclined to stay with them. They're also, they do all of their hosting out of AWS's data center on the West Coast. which just isn't, no US hosting is GDPR compliant anymore, which is starting to be a really big issue for us. So I think we're going to move off them. We use Postmark app for transactional mails, which is sort of a really super developer-friendly version of like SendGrid.
Okay.
So any sort of welcome mails or password resets, things like that, goes through Postmark. And then we use MailerLite for marketing, because we wanted to keep marketing completely separate from anything transactional.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah. So I think, Lee, you got some suggestions or discussion points.
I mean, as a solution, I think it has a lot of merit. I think the value to a corporate in comparison to the value to a student are quite significantly different, and that's one of the challenges. You know, as a student having to pay for transcriptions in the past, you know, it was not overly expensive, but quite time consuming. Excuse me. But you know, invariably students don't have a lot of money.
Yeah.
But there's a significant market for it. They're obviously less concerned around GDPR, although you know they still need some form of security, etc. Whereas in the corporate market, and then I would say more the SME type businesses, perhaps not so much the larger corporates, or maybe the case. There's a lot of things said that aren't recorded, or are recorded but then are just held. You know, I work in a business, or I did work in a business where we'd have 40 salespeople speaking on a daily basis, and we'd record what they say. But there's no way of actually knowing what they've said, because it's just a recording, either a video recording or a tape recording. And having a way to digitize that to then be able to analyze the data for misuse of words, you know, for compliance perspectives, there's, you know, a real opportunity for that around compliance.
I think that the challenge I see, Phoebe, is that you seem to be targeting many different markets.
Yeah, and that's
quite drastically different.
Which one are you going to go after? Because your price point is going to be quite different. You almost might need to consider a multi-branded solution that has a student orientation. To Chris's point, it almost becomes a viral thing. You know, once one takes it, that it'll boom or it'll bust. But you need the boom to make any money. Whereas on the corporate side, you know, if you take, for example, board meeting minutes.
Yeah.
Really important that things are documented correctly, but invariably what you get is one person's biased view of what was said.
Yeah.
Now, you'd hope that the company secretary isn't biased, or whoever's taking the notes, but quite often you find that these things aren't always necessarily on track, and people are asked a month later to say, is this what you recall what was discussed? And not everything's necessarily captured. And then if you go into sort of slightly lower level senior leadership team meetings, in my experience, are never recorded. Minutes are very rarely taken. And actually those types of environments where someone taking a recording and having it transcribed and held centrally adds a lot of value. And if you think about the cost of someone sitting and transcribing a board meeting, it's a significant cost.
Yeah.
And therefore, what they're prepared to pay for that type of solution may well be significantly more than a student would pay, but you'd need to position it differently.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Thank you.
I think I completely agree with what they're saying. The reason I asked about sort of support at the beginning is I think one of the things that you'll find with corporates, which we found, and which is something we're actively working on, is data security becomes absolutely paramount to them, and using Amazon services they won't like. So what we're looking at is an on-prem capability where we can give that complete security around the speech-to-text engine, that it's not, floating around in Amazon's ether. And that's, I think, depending on the market, if you look at the corporate market, there is definitely a massive opportunity, but I think there's quite a lot of engineering work required to be able to target it.
Right.
And once you have that sort of on-prem capability, they then want things like 27001 ISO accreditation for data security and, stability policy, and it's really, really fun stuff. But I think there are other markets like unis where they need some of that, but they're a little less tetchy about it. So I kind of think that there's the heart of it is there, but it's depending on the market, you might end up having to develop the product quite a lot.
Right. Okay.
The other thing is, are you aware of Otter?
Yes.
Yeah. That would be my big worry. So Otter.ai, big US, not that big, quite big US tech company, do very, very similar using the same tech. They've just raised 50 million in funding.
Oh, okay.
About a month ago, which we've got a bit of a shock about. Verbit, similar, 60 million in funding. There's some big US players out there, and what we're trying to do is sort of take exactly to Manoj's point, carve that niche where they're raising that amount of money because they're going to go after mass market. Whereas, where do we find a niche that you then potentially become quite an attractive acquisition to them?
Okay.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
But they are big, gnarly tech companies.
Yeah.
Amila, you must be using something similar, right, for your voice recordings? And
yeah, so we do the recording by ourselves. We directly tap onto the audio stream, and then we don't do post transcription. We do real-time transcription using an engine called rev.ai. Now rev.ai, so our competitors were DeepGram or rev.ai. DeepGram is the provider for Otter.ai. So the underlying ASR engine for Otter is DeepGram, and the underlying ASR engine for some other services is rev.ai. So we are using rev.ai because before rev.ai became a transcription engine, they were called rev.com, which was a manual transcription service. So they had collected loads of data and made it a machine learning model. So I already mentioned this to Phoebe before, and they're quite cheap. They're very cheap, much cheaper than Amazon and Google. And much more accurate because we have done the internal benchmark testing, and they are much more accurate than both those services.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to look into rev.ai. Yeah.
But I take from your point, you acquire this product, so you can't really go and do all these sexy different things and change the tech. You got to find you need to get some traction with what you got, isn't it?
Yes, that's basically.
Well, you need to pick a segment because you can't go for corporate if your product isn't ready for corporate, right? So I don't know how you're gonna how we're gonna decide which one to target. Did you already got some customers? Is there any patterns in there? Or?
I've seen a lot of students so far, I think, and universities itself. I've seen university emails. So it's probably student-wise, I should probably go after first. There has been some companies though, kind of SMEs, I think, rather than big corporate though.
So to be honest, I think my gut feeling is students and SMEs or very small startups, because just like Chris said, you can't reach, I mean, you probably can reach big organizations, but the first thing they're going to ask is, do you have 27001? Because data security is paramount for them. And 27001 is no joke. It takes 9 to 15 months to get it certified. And we ourselves are struggling to do that. So I think student, if you just like, I think, was it Manoj or maybe Lee, if you capture that niche market, if students, somebody's bound to come and take you on board. So
I think the other thing is lecture notes.
Yeah, students, yeah.
In the sense that it's finding that niche. It may well be that there's other organizations selling into universities that you can piggyback.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, you can probably piggyback on a university because they already have these accreditations, 27001, 9001, and all of that. And if the university can provide your service as a service to their students, we have up, because I think universities upload the audio recording or the lecture recordings. And, as a service, the university probably could provide yours for a transcription option to the students.
Right.
Then
Yeah.
you don't have to worry about those 27001 and stuff like that.
So,
hopefully.
Yeah, so we have through Skilled Up Life, we just have 2 partners, and the second partner is building an application called Univisor, and they're providing a peer-to-peer network for university students and the prospective students. So basically, university current students function as buddies, talking to prospective students, and the customer for them is a university, because universities want to attract more students. So they might be interested in exploring. Also, Ram from Compira he's building a recruitment platform. He's building an AI machine engine, but he's also talking to one of the, I'm not going to name the university, but Lee and I know them very well. And they are looking at onboarding some of the students to that platform. So, again, that if, we had to wait for that relationship to develop, and then we can start maybe looking through them as well. Yeah, so I think, what I offered you as, so we do a Clubhouse session every Monday at 12 o'clock for an hour. So Phoebe's going to sponsor us, big sponsor. She's going to transcribe that, and we're going to try to promote her. But the problem I got with Clubhouse is that I try to record using various apps. It doesn't work. But for that particular session, because Stuart Townsend got podcasting kit, we're going to try to record through him.
Right.
And then make the audio file. But I don't know whether you could build anything, because the biggest problem with Clubhouse now, we got Twitter Spaces, which I got access a few days ago. Slack is bringing a similar service. LinkedIn, I think Facebook Messenger going to have a similar service, and all these, there's a lot of knowledge being shared, but that knowledge disappeared after that conversation. And the best way to get value out is to actually turn that into text and share, and then you got the SEO effect and everything else. So I think, I presume all the American companies Chris mentioned probably already working on those opportunities. But if you can look into that, maybe there's a bigger opportunity through integrating with some of these services.
It was also by British. There is that sort of, I always look at the words on presentations and, how they spell colour or centre. And part of the challenge here is when things don't work and you need to speak to them, you have to wait till the afternoon. Yeah, and they'll talk about call centre, but actually they're just bloody difficult to deal with. And so a lot of British companies want to deal with British companies because they pick up the phone at 9 a.m. and it might sound stupid, but frankly, the Americans don't care if we call and they're not there because they're not interested in the British market. And I think looking at the US competitors, looking at what they're doing, looking at where they're targeting and where they're positioning, almost gives you the example of where the markets are. And yes, they'll stimulate it, but there's always that case of, I wonder if anyone does it in England and everyone does it in the UK, as opposed to having to sign up and pay a US dollar fee for something, which, you'd be surprised the number of people who really don't like doing that. And having to wait till, the afternoon or having to be on the phone in the evenings. So I would look at what the US is doing as a real barometer and a real way to direct. As long as you're ticking all the other boxes around data security, consideration of ISO 27001, etc. And the problem with the big fish is they're just really difficult to land. I've just landed a deal with a large UK homeware business, and it's taken 18 months. It's 10 grand That's all the cost. That's all the cost is. But because it's data, legal conversations, hoops, they spend more on toilet roll each year than they do on the solution we're providing. But because it involves employee data, it's a nightmare. So I think it's also understanding what the data is and what the sensitivity of the data is that you're essentially creating.
Yeah.
Is also important in terms of the company you're talking to. Some, for example, in financial services will be very reticent to have any conversations digitized that might contain bank account numbers and things like that. So again, it's understanding that as well from a market perspective. But I would certainly use the US as a barometer to see where they're targeting, where their successes have been, and see whether there's opportunities for you to replicate that in the UK.
Yeah, well, that's a very good point.
Phoebe, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you can't see me.
I saw the hand now.
Ah, yeah, there you go. Yeah, I was trying to be polite. So these might seem a bit random ideas, but if I don't share them, then you can't do anything with them.
Share away.
So first of all, just quickly looking at this website and looking at all the other services, everyone seems to be the service is text to speech, right, or speech to text, yeah. Which gut feel to me, and I know nothing about the market, but it kind of feels like that's just a commodity, already. I don't, I'm, as you were saying this, I'm like, surely if I want to do this, I just go to Google and use the API, or I don't know, I've never done it actually. But it feels like it's something which almost instantly becomes commodity, and there's no big deal about it. Yeah. So where I think again, it's just a thought process, but where what might work is two things. Is one, people think of it as theirs, right? And I don't know what I mean by this, as in I can't give you a specific product change or branding change to make, but I just think that if people think of it it's their tool, not a service. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I think I get what you mean.
Yeah. So for example, I don't know, with a bank account, I mean, it's not the same analogy, but the point being is there are certain things that you think of yours rather than a service. Yeah. I've definitely got a Zoom account, right? And it's kind of mine. Not really, I'm using a service, but anyway, so I just think there's something around that, because if a business or a individual, small business or an individual, or maybe as you say, a university actually feels and thinks oh, this is cool, this is my service to use for anything that I want, then it's their tool. It's you're selling them the Swiss Army knife rather than saying, hey, you can get access to the Swiss Army knife. And practically it's the same, but emotionally it might feel quite different, because you're not selling a commodity, you're selling a specific tool that does something for them, which essentially is a way of niche marketing, if that makes sense. But I don't know, like I said, it's not a fully formed thought, but I think there's something in the way. I think you've got to position this not as well, this is the same as, I was just looking at Google, Google text to speech to text, and I'm from a service perspective, I don't get what would be different at all. Do you see what I mean?
I think the other point to build on Simon's is, what's the problem you're trying to solve for the company?
Right.
In the sense of it's a so what? I can take the audio from this and I can convert it into text. Is that so that people who are hard of hearing can read it? It's just it's a great simple technology, but it's the so what for. For example, I've got a friend who's the company secretary who spends a day of his time. So it costs $5,000 for him to sit down and a year probably for him to sit down and do the minutes for the board meetings. Whereas if, for example, he had an audio to text solution that essentially could give him the template that effectively he could read through and go, oh yeah, that's the wrong word, that number's incorrect, blah, 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 blah. It could save him, 7 hours a day, once a month, then actually that's worth quite a lot to him.
Yeah.
That's the so what. So again, for students, they just need it doing, and they need it doing at the lowest possible cost in a sense. And it needs to be accessible and easy to find. And that's, to some degree, it's that search cost for them. Whereas in other markets, it's almost the so what. And, for example, the business I've just come from, being able to convert it to text doesn't create an advantage because they already have it in audio. But if you can convert it to text and then search the text to look for certain words that they shouldn't use as part of a sales process, what you're able to do is to give compliance an early warning, because they can't listen to everything and they don't have anything that's listening automatically. So if you could then create a way of searching for certain words that would then flag and reduce the compliance risk, all of a sudden it's a compliance risk management solution as opposed to, and that's the bit that I think you've got a technology looking for a solution, and it's finding those solutions that you can then work the technology into, which again you might get from some of the US people, or again talking to people in business about if that sort of SME market's your target market. It's the universities, it's slightly different. That's more probably about partnering.
So I mean, just listening to you, Lee. So for example, if I have audio file, I don't actually know where to go and turn that into text. Now, is it simple that Google actually have a service where I can upload the file and it gives me the text output? I don't know.
Yeah.
So Otter will give you 600 free minutes to do it at the moment per month.
Yeah, but that's a similar service to Transcribo, isn't it? Yes.
Yeah.
And I guess the other thing is, how do you get them to come back? So how do you hold them? So, the other challenge with all of this, so, if you think the business I've just left, we video record. It used to be audio, now it's video because it's all like this. They're just storing thousands and thousands of data points constantly. And actually, they don't really want all the video. They don't want to see the video. What they really want to know is, did that person use the wrong words when they sold the product? And so they want to go back, and invariably the challenge is, did they sell it compliantly, or did they break the rules when they sold the product? And so you don't need the video, you just need the actual transcript.
Yeah.
And then it's confirming the transcript is of sufficient quality. And that's where in the financial services, it might not necessarily be, but that's what they're looking for. So, but where do you store it all? So do you provide the repository of the data, as well as also the conversion? So, or do they store it themselves centrally on their own servers, on their own systems? Because otherwise it's just, you're going to turn up, do something, leave every single time. And what's the reason to go back? What's the reason to stay loyal? It just becomes a transaction that they could use. If they went around everyone's free, you could probably get 1,000 hours a month if you use everyone's free service.
So, I'm just looking at something similar, right? So there's a lot of products for e-signing. So currently I'm using one called PandaDoc, and traditionally I would download it after the two parties signed and upload to my Google Drive, which is quite tedious. And sometimes I download, doesn't actually get uploaded. But now I have one place where it gets the signatures, but also I can go and find any agreements that I had before. So to me, there's some value in going to one place to look at all your transcriptions. So it's not just, to me, just one, you do it one time, you download it, and you don't need that product again. So I think there's value in that storage element as well. But I think that, there's going to be more and more people using these voice apps, and they want to, especially marketers, they want to repurpose that content. So if there's a way to tap into that market, again, these are, individuals, freelancers, these are not big companies.
No.
So they're looking for a cheap and cheerful solution, easy to do, which is what you're offering. It's how you target that market. That's the problem, because it's all happening through the mobile phone. But I think to me, everybody's giving you great advice and suggestions, but I think you got to work out saying you have a product, you can't really spend more time building it because you need to get some traction. And then from our side, working with Mithun, we can look at saying what free resources we can find you to start building a little team, because it's just you and your own part-time as well.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been very helpful actually listening to everybody. I've taken lots of notes. But you're right, I do need to focus in and hone in on what markets I need to concentrate on, and that's kind of what the presentation was kind of. That's why I added the people to get all the views. But thank you.
So we got the Friday 4:00 founder beers. Do drop in and we can talk about it, because sometimes we don't have enough topics to talk, don't we, Russell?
You always find something, Manoj.
Well, I mean, we can look at what what sort of a strategy you should you could start to adopt. But if you're pushing through SEO, how are you doing that then? Is that just through blog post or?
Yeah, I'll be doing blog posts and then link building as well, because that's what my background's doing. But I have been looking into LinkedIn and why I'll be using Skilled Up, because of what the data of different universities and people to target. Yeah,
I mean, we actually, I didn't realize that, but we have quite a number of graduates as well. So
okay.
Yes, so I think worth having a chat with Mithun as well. Look at maybe you create an opportunity for looking for somebody to help you with getting traction into university or higher education sector.
Yeah.
So we got the, for example, we got the admission director of Salford University. He actually wanted to take our proposition to Salford, but the university admin said, no, you can't work with Skilled Up Live. So, so we have individuals like that, which, who might be very interested in helping.
Amazing.
Phoebe, just one other question, because I imagine that there's been lots of sort of things discussed and sort of thrown at you, and probably sort of all really helpful, but you've then got to think about, new features over here, how are we going to do ISO accreditation over here, how are we going to do this? But have you thought about, you've obviously got a marketing background, but what is it that you want it to be? And is it that you want it to be a great product that you market and you want to focus on the marketing? Or is it that you want to sit across everything and then sort of what success looks like for you? Because some of these avenues, can be you and a couple of people. Some of them, the corporate side, for example, it's much bigger team to do that sort of thing, really. But it might be worth having a bit of a think around that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's more for me to grow and of the traffic side, really, to grow it and get more. I think students I'll be looking at more so. It's more of a project to hone in my skills, really. But
it creates a different commercial model in the sense that if you go for that students and large numbers of people, then essentially it's the numbers of people using the platform that create the value for other people. And then all of a sudden people are tapping you to say, can we work with you to promote our products, and we'll pay you from an affiliate perspective, as opposed to just directly selling to the corporate, to Chris's point, where there's big hoops.
Yeah.
The other bit which is really interesting in this space, it's the final thing I'll say and then I'll be quiet, but is to Simon's point before of how speech to text is commoditized. It absolutely is. And you've got people like Rev, Verbit, Otter spending millions and millions trying to build their own engines to knock out that cost. From my perspective, there is an argument that says, go after a market that they're going to be interested in the future. Use Amazon, use Google, use something like that. So they can just come along and go, actually, do you know what? We were really interested in UK lawyers And that product nails UK laws. If we buy them, we get the market, we put our speech to text engine in, that's a winner.
Yeah, I was going to jump in on that. I just sent a screenshot, Phoebe, for you. Trying to illustrate slightly what was in.
It just came to me, Simon. I think you sent it just to me. You probably need to send it to everyone.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that shows you. Pretty crap, this, isn't it? Anyway, I'll send it to everyone now. The point being is that I do think you might find that solicitors, right? Like, of which there are a lot. And they're normally quite small businesses. I mean, obviously you get big firms as well, but you do have a hell of a lot. And it's not just solicitors, it's anyone who basically does anything in inverted commas legal, right? Like surveyors, you know, anything where the conversation could be recorded or should be recorded, if nothing else, to give them basically a comeback if they need it. Yeah. I suspect they don't give any monkeys about the technology, in the sense of, if you said, we use Google to do this, they go, brilliant, great. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
They're not bothered about the technology, they're bothered about the service that they get. And I think, yeah, and they've, you know, generally charge about 200 quid an hour. So
very good point.
Yeah, tagging on an extra 2 quid an hour or 1 quid an hour, it's nothing. It's like,
I mean, the way lawyers work is they have a verbal conversation with you, they write notes, then they actually then dictate it into a dictaphone and send it to the secretary. The secretary types it up. That's why it costs £200 an hour.
No,
That's absolutely spot on. I mean, I can put you in touch with some people who sell technology into the legal sector.
Okay, that'd be really helpful.
So sorry, Lee. We also got 2 legal firms, Brabner's and Aaron and Partners, so we could talk to them as well.
Absolutely, yeah. There is already technology in the market. A lot of people are building it into their existing case management systems and stuff like that, but not everybody can afford it. There's lots of smaller ones, so you know that is a sector that actually could be quite an interesting one. It's a good point, Simon.
Yeah, I think what's interesting about it is you can go direct, do the demo really quickly. Yes, there is some, you know, as long as you tick, you know, a Google size box for security of data, no one's really that bothered. Like, it's not like a bank going crazy over ISO or whatever. But I think the most important thing is that basically they'll pay for it, and they'll pay for it now. You know,
it's very true.
As soon as you say, well, about 5 other solicitors are using it, they'll use it as well. They'll just follow. You know,
yeah.
Yeah. I think that personally, I don't know. I think that's a good market. Anyway.
I had thought about solicitors as well, but it was the data side that I was a bit concerned about, actually. But I know a few as well, so maybe I'll get in touch with them and see what they think.
Apologies, another meeting. Meet you, Phoebe.
It was lovely to meet you.
We come to the end, 1 o'clock. So Phoebe, thank you very much. I'll post this on YouTube with the unlisted link, so the others can take a look as well.
Amazing. And thank you for everybody's help.
Yeah. And we hope we're going to get a transcription of this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Good.
If you want me to introduce you to some tech guys who sell into legal sector, happy to.
That'd be amazing. Thank you if you could.
All right, guys. Take care. Cheers.
Bye.
Nice to meet you.
Bye.